My friends, there comes a moment in life when every man and woman must look into the mirror of their own destiny and ask a very sobering question: what will the world remember me for? You see, excuses are abundant. There are many, but results are rare. And the truth is this: the world does not celebrate reasons. It only respects results. Think for a moment of the single mother working 2 jobs, who still finds time at night to read a story to her children. She doesn't have the luxury of excuses. She only has the power of persistence. Or the young man who was told he would never walk again, yet through grit, faith, and determination, he not only walked, but ran and inspired millions. These are ordinary people who produced extraordinary results, not because life was easy, but because they refused to surrender to reasons. Every great achievement in history is written in the ink of perseverance. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he lit the world. Nelson Mandela lost 27 years in prison, yet emerged not with bitterness, but with a vision that transformed a nation. They had every reason to give up, but they chose results over reasons. My dear friends, hear me clearly: the world is not moved by what you intended to do or what you could have done. It only respects what you actually accomplish. Excuses may comfort you for a moment, but they will never crown you. Yes, life is unfair. Yes, the path is steep. Yes, your resources may be limited. But history has shown us that those who rise are not those with the greatest resources, but those with the greatest resolve. Your responsibility is not to complain about the darkness. It is to produce light, not to argue with the storm, but to sail through it. So I say to you, let today mark the death of excuses in your life. Bury them, and let this day mark the birth of results. Results that speak louder than your reasons. Results that prove your worth to the world. Because when the dust settles, when your story is told, the question will not be, what did life give you? But rather, what did you do with what you were given? And so I leave you with this charge: the world respects results, not reasons. So rise, persevere, believe, and deliver the fruit of your potential. Your future, your family, your destiny, and your God are waiting for the results you were born to produce. Stand tall, act boldly, and never forget: the world respects results, not reasons. My friends, let me tell you something that may shake you to your core. The world does not care about your excuses. The world will not remember the reasons you could not succeed. It will only remember what you accomplished. Excuses may soothe the heart for a moment, but they cannot build a legacy. And when the story of your life is told, no one will write chapters about what you planned to do but never did. They will only write about the results you left behind. Think about it. Imagine a young man who dreams of becoming a doctor, but along the way life throws him challenges. Maybe his family has no money. Maybe he has to work long hours just to survive. Maybe he is laughed at, told he is not smart enough, told he will never make it. And maybe in those long nights of struggle he begins to form reasons why he cannot succeed. But if he gives in to those reasons, what will the world remember? A man who had potential, a man who could have been great, but allowed his excuses to bury his gift. Yet, if that same young man pushes through the struggle, studies by candlelight, works 3 jobs, refuses to let go of his vision, and finally earns that degree, the world will never ask him about his excuses. It will celebrate his results. Excuses are plentiful, but results are rare. And it is the rare things that hold value. You see, no one builds a statue for a person who explained why they could not. Statues are built for those who did, for those who achieved, for those who produced something that outlived them. Look around you at history. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he invented the light bulb. He could have said, I have every reason to stop. I have every excuse to give up. But if he had stopped at excuse number 999, you and I might still be living in darkness. History did not honor his reasons. It honored his result. Or consider Helen Keller, a woman born deaf and blind. Life gave her every excuse to sit in silence and disappear into the shadows. But she did not. She chose to rise, to speak, to write, to advocate for millions. Today, the world does not speak of her excuses. The world speaks of her results. Excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable. They convince you that you have a right to stay where you are. But legacies are not written by what is reasonable. Legacies are written by what is remarkable. And remarkable results only come when you refuse to bow to your reasons. Let me challenge you today: what excuses are you carrying? Some of you say, I don't have enough money. Others say, I don't have enough education. Some say, I don't have the connections, the time, or the opportunity. My friend, those may be your reasons, but they cannot become your reality, because if you let them, they will bury your future. The truth is this: the people you admire most in life are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who had every reason to quit, but chose to press on. The athlete who trained in the rain when no one was watching. The entrepreneur who failed 10 times, but tried again until the world knew their name. The mother who sacrificed her own dreams so her children could rise higher. These are the people history respects, not because of their reasons, but because of their results. Results are the language of impact. You can talk about your dreams. You can explain your struggles, but until there is fruit in your hand, the world cannot taste the sweetness of your vision. That is why excuses are cheap, but results are priceless. Excuses explain the present, but results create the future. Excuses justify failure, but results inspire generations. So the question is not, what reasons do you have? The real question is, what results will you produce? When your name is spoken years from now, when your children or grandchildren look back at your life, they will not repeat the excuses you gave. They will remember the evidence you left. My friend, excuses may sound good today, but they will not sound good tomorrow when time has passed, when opportunities have slipped away, and when life asks you what you did with the potential inside of you. Excuses do not create monuments. Excuses do not shape nations. Excuses do not feed the hungry, heal the sick, or lead the lost. Excuses do not build legacies. Only results do. My friends, the greatest misconception many people carry is that extraordinary lives are reserved for extraordinary people. We look at the heroes of history, the innovators, the leaders, the visionaries, and we convince ourselves that they were somehow different, that they had more talent, more strength, more resources, more opportunity. But the truth is simple and sobering. They were ordinary men and women, just like you and me. What made them extraordinary was not what they had, but what they chose. They chose persistence over reasons. Think of a farmer. He wakes up before the sun rises, his body sore, his hands rough from labor, his clothes worn thin. Day after day, season after season, he plants seeds in the soil. He could say, the land is too dry, the work is too hard, the harvest is too uncertain. He has every reason to stop. But he persists, he waters, he waits, he endures the storms, he fights off the weeds, and when the season changes, the harvest comes. What the world sees is the fruit on the table. What they don't see is the ordinary man who chose persistence over reasons. This is the secret of greatness. Extraordinary results are born from ordinary persistence. The single mother who works all day and studies all night, telling herself, I cannot let my children down. The young student who is laughed at, who is told he will never succeed, yet spends countless hours proving every voice wrong. The employee who is overlooked, underestimated, but refuses to remain invisible, and through persistence rises to lead. These are not superhuman. They are ordinary people, but persistence transforms their ordinary into extraordinary. History is filled with such examples. Abraham Lincoln lost more elections than he won, failed in business, and suffered personal tragedy. By every account, he had more reasons to quit than to continue. Yet persistence led him to the presidency and to the task of holding a divided nation together. The Wright brothers had no advanced education, no wealthy sponsors, no government support. They were ordinary bicycle mechanics with an extraordinary belief that man could fly. Every failed attempt gave them another reason to stop. But persistence pushed them beyond their reasons, and today the world soars because of their result. Persistence is the bridge between vision and reality. It is the daily decision to keep going when reasons whisper in your ear, telling you to stop. Ordinary people who choose persistence discover that reasons are temporary, but results are permanent. Reasons fade, but the fruit of persistence lasts for generations. Too many people underestimate themselves because they overestimate the obstacles. They say, I am not strong enough, not smart enough, not connected enough. They convince themselves that greatness is out of reach. But the truth is, greatness is not found in privilege, it is found in persistence. Privilege may open doors, but persistence keeps you walking until you reach your destination. Privilege may give you an advantage, but persistence gives you victory. The danger of reasons is that they sound convincing, they sound justified, but the danger of excuses is that they paralyze. And while you are explaining your reasons, someone else is producing results. While you are listing why you cannot, someone else is showing what happens when you refuse to quit. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often one more attempt, one more phone call, one more hour of practice, one more refusal to quit. Ordinary people become extraordinary not because they never fail, but because they never stop rising after failure. Look around your life right now. What dream lies dormant because you allowed reasons to choke it? What goal has been abandoned because you told yourself the timing wasn't right, the money wasn't enough, or the resources were too small? My friend, persistence is not about waiting for the perfect conditions. Persistence is about moving forward in imperfect conditions until the results come. The greatest athletes are not always the most talented. They are the most persistent. The greatest leaders are not always the most gifted. They are the most persistent. The greatest inventors are not always the most educated. They are the most persistent. Persistence is the common denominator of all extraordinary lives. Ordinary people achieve extraordinary things because they understand this truth reasons may explain today, but persistence shapes tomorrow. Reasons may give you comfort, but persistence gives you a crown. And when the story of your life is told, no one will ask how many reasons you had. They will ask what you produced through persistence. My friends, let me remind you of a truth that is often uncomfortable to face. The pages of history are not written with intentions. They are written with results. The world will not remember what you meant to do, what you wanted to do, or what you thought about doing. History honors only what you accomplished, what you left behind, the evidence of your persistence, the fruit of your labor. Think about it. How many people have you heard say, "One day I will start a business. One day I will write a book. One day I will change the world." But years pass, life goes on, and their own day never comes. Their intentions sounded noble, their dreams sounded beautiful, but because they never produced results, their names faded away, forgotten by time. Intention without execution is like a seed never planted. It may have potential, but it will never produce fruit. History does not celebrate the man who intended to build the light bulb. It celebrates Thomas Edison, the man who produced it after 1,000 failed attempts. Edison's name is written because he delivered results, not because he dreamed about them. He had reasons to stop, reasons to doubt, reasons to quit. But the result of his persistence is that today we live in the light he produced. History does not honor the man who intended to free a nation. It honors Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years in a prison cell, stripped of freedom, stripped of comfort, yet never stripped of vision. He could have given up. He could have said, "The cost is too great." He had reasons to surrender, but he chose results. And when the gates of his prison opened, he carried not excuses, but the resolve to unify a divided land. That is why his name echoes in every corner of the earth. Intentions are easy, but results are costly. Intentions are abundant, but results are rare. And that is why history only remembers results. Everyone intends to live a good life. Everyone intends to be successful. Everyone intends to leave a legacy, but only a few choose to pay the price of persistence, the sacrifice of discipline, the endurance of hardship, until intentions are transformed into results. Let me ask you today, what intentions are you still holding in your heart? What dreams are you carrying that the world has yet to see? Because no one can honor your intention until you translate it into action. The road to greatness is not paved with wishes, it is paved with work. The road to destiny is not built on excuses, it is built on evidence. The Wright brothers did not intend to fly, they flew. Martin Luther King Jr. did not intend to speak. He spoke, he marched, he acted, and his results moved a nation toward justice. Mother Teresa did not intend to care for the poor. She lived among them, served them, clothed them, fed them, touched them with compassion, and the result is that her name is synonymous with mercy. History is merciless toward intentions, but generous toward results. You may have good reasons why you could not, but history will not write reasons. It will only write results. That is why mediocrity is forgotten, but excellence is remembered. That is why excuses are buried, but evidence lives forever. I want you to imagine your life as a book. Every day, every decision, every action is writing a page. If your story ended today, what would be written? Would the pages be filled with intentions, excuses, reasons why you could not? Or would they be filled with results? Results that prove you showed up, that you fought through, that you delivered something the world could not ignore. Edison, Mandela, Teresa King, the Wright brothers, they were human just like us. They were not given perfect conditions. They were not handed success on a silver platter. What separated them was that they did not allow intentions to remain intentions. They converted them into results. They refused to be remembered for what they planned and insisted on being remembered for what they produced. Intentions die with you, but results live beyond you. Intentions end in the grave, but results echo through generations. Intentions are private, but results are public, and history is written not in the language of excuses, but in the language of results. My friends, I want you to hear me clearly today. Life is not fair. It never has been, and it never will be. Life does not ask your permission before it hands you storms. Life does not ask your approval before it gives you trials. Some are born into privilege while others are born into poverty. Some are handed opportunities while others must fight for every single breath of progress. But let me remind you of this truth. Though life may be unfair, responsibility still belongs to you. You cannot change the storm by arguing with it. You cannot stop the rain by complaining about it. You cannot remove the darkness by cursing it. If you want to see change, you must take responsibility. Sail through the storm. Produce the light, because the storm will not move for your words. It will only move when you move. There was a young man who once told me, "It's not my fault that I was born poor." And he was right. It is not your fault where you begin, but it is your responsibility where you end. Poverty may not be your fault, but staying there is your choice. Injustice may not be your fault, but what you do in response to it is your responsibility. The unfairness of life is universal, but the response to it determines destiny. Think of a sailor. He cannot control the wind. The waves are beyond his authority. The storm does not obey his voice, but he does not sit on the deck complaining, shouting at the sea. No, he takes responsibility. He adjusts the sail. He studies the currents. He uses what he has to reach where he must go. My friend, you may not control life's storm, but you control your response. Look at the lives of great men and women we celebrate today. Every single one of them had storms. Every single one of them faced unfairness. Nelson Mandela faced injustice in prison. Helen Keller faced disability. Oprah Winfrey faced poverty and rejection. Abraham Lincoln faced failure after failure. They could have cursed the storm. They could have argued with the darkness, but instead they produced light. They took responsibility, and because they did, the world now remembers their names. Responsibility is heavy, but it is also the birthplace of freedom. The moment you take responsibility for your life, you take back your power. The moment you stop blaming, you start building. The moment you stop pointing at the storm, you start steering your ship. Too many people spend their lives cursing the darkness. They complain about what they don't have, where they came from, who didn't help them, who betrayed them. And while they are busy rehearsing the unfairness, life passes them by. You cannot light a candle by cursing the night. You light it by striking the flame yourself. Life may hand you obstacles, but it is your responsibility to turn them into opportunities. Life may hand you rejection, but it is your responsibility to turn it into redirection. Life may hand you struggle, but it is your responsibility to turn it into strength. That is how ordinary men and women rise to greatness. Think of the seed buried in the soil. It is surrounded by darkness, pressed down by weight, suffocated in silence, but the seed does not complain. The seed takes responsibility. It pushes upward, it reaches for the light. And in time, what was buried in darkness becomes a tree that gives shade, fruit, and life to the world around it. The soil was unfair, but the seed chose responsibility. So it is with you. You may be buried in debt, buried in rejection, buried in struggle, but you are a seed. And if you take responsibility, if you push through the soil of life, if you reach for the light instead of cursing the darkness, you will rise. You will produce fruit. You will become a tree that others find shelter in. My friends, storms will always come. Darkness will always fall. Life will always present unfairness, but destiny belongs to those who refuse to be paralyzed by what they cannot control and instead take responsibility for what they can. You cannot stop the storm, but you can sail through it. You cannot erase the night, but you can produce light. Life is unfair, but responsibility is yours. My friends, there comes a moment in every life where a choice must be made. A choice between excuses and results. A choice between reasons why it cannot be done and determination that it must be done. And I want you to hear me clearly today. Until you bury your excuses, you will never give birth to your results. Excuses must die so that destiny can live. Excuses are like chains. They hold you in the same place year after year. They sound logical, they feel comforting, but in truth, they are prisons dressed in words. You say, I don't have the time. You say, I don't have the money. You say, I don't have the education, the support, the resources. But let me remind you, the world is not waiting for your explanations. The world is waiting for your evidence. And evidence only comes when excuses are buried and results are born. Think of a farmer in the field. If he spends his days explaining why the soil is too dry, why the rain has not come, why the tools are too heavy, his field will remain barren. The land does not respond to reasons. It only responds to action. If he digs, if he plants, if he waters, then and only then will the harvest come. Excuses cannot produce fruit. Only labor, only sacrifice, only persistence can. History is filled with people who had every excuse to quit, but instead chose to produce results. Take Beethoven, who lost his hearing, yet composed some of the greatest symphonies the world has ever heard. He could have buried himself in excuses, saying, I cannot hear, therefore I cannot compose. But he buried his excuses and gave birth to music that still lives centuries later. Take Harriet Tubman, born into slavery, uneducated, hunted, threatened, yet she rose to lead hundreds to freedom. She had every excuse to hide, but instead she chose results. Excuses will always present themselves. They are loyal companions. They will sit beside you and whisper, "You don't have to try. You can stop now. You can wait for tomorrow." But destiny does not wait. Opportunity does not wait. Time does not wait. And if you listen to excuses, your tomorrow will look exactly like your yesterday. Results, on the other hand, demand courage. They demand risk. They demand that you move forward even when you are afraid. Results are not born in comfort. They are born in pressure, in perseverance, in the refusal to give up. That is why the world respects results, because results are rare, results are costly, results are evidence that you fought your excuses and you won. Let me tell you something very important. Excuses are cheap, but results are priceless. Excuses require only words, but results require work. Excuses live in the mouths of the many, but results live in the hands of the few. Excuses end with regret, but results live forever. What is it that you are carrying inside you? What dream, what vision, what calling has been delayed because excuses keep standing in the way? How long will you explain instead of execute? How long will you reason instead of rise? My friend, the day you bury your excuses is the day your results begin to live. Look at the seed. If it remains in your hand, you can explain its potential all day long. You can describe the tree it could become, the fruit it could bear, the shade it could give. But until you bury it in the soil, there is no result. The soil demands burial before it can release life. And so it is with excuses. Until you bury them, your potential cannot grow. Until you put them in the ground and walk away, your destiny cannot emerge. The truth is simple but powerful. No one respects excuses. People may sympathize with them, but they do not honor them. Respect is not given to the man who explained why he could not. Respect is given to the man who, against all odds, did. That is why the world celebrates those who achieve, those who deliver, those who show results, not those who rehearse reasons. You cannot build a legacy with explanations. You cannot inspire generations with excuses. You cannot change the world with reasons. But you can transform everything with results. You can alter history with results. You can silence critics with results. You can prove your worth with results. My friends, destiny demands evidence. It demands proof that you did not waste your potential. It demands that you turn dreams into reality, intentions into achievements, possibilities into results. That is why you must bury your excuses. Because the moment you bury them, you make room for your results to be born. And when they are born, the world will respect you, not for what you explained, but for what you produced. My friends, we have walked together through these truths. We have seen that excuses do not create legacies, results do. We have seen that ordinary people become extraordinary not by luck or privilege, but by choosing persistence over reasons. We have seen that history does not honor intentions, but only the results that change the course of nations and generations. We have learned that life is not fair, but responsibility still belongs to you. And we have understood that until excuses are buried, results can never be born. This is the call of destiny to rise above excuses, to silence reasons, to confront storms, and to produce light. The measure of your life will not be in the explanations you give, but in the evidence you leave behind. Your children, your family, your community, your world, they do not need your reasons, they need your results. They do not need your intentions, they need your impact. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are not ordinary. Within you is the seed of greatness, the potential to do what has never been done, to break barriers, to heal wounds, to build futures. But that seed cannot remain in the soil of excuses. It must be planted, it must be watered with persistence, and it must grow into results that will feed generations. So rise. Rise above the reasons that have held you back. Rise above the excuses that have kept you still. Rise above the unfairness of life and take responsibility for your destiny. For the truth will never change. The world respects results, not reasons.